Hello everybody, welcome back. It's always lovely to have you stop by and visit. I'm feeling a little bit fancy today. My husband bought me this beautiful ring for Christmas. Oh, I think I've got it stuck. Here we go. It's like a little firework. It has so many beautiful colours on it. So I kind of thought I'd be a little fancy and put some nails on. So I probably can't do any dishes for the next few days. They're going to come off within 24 hours. I can guarantee it. Now, today I thought we'd have a little look through this book. Very Kiwi, New Zealand book. It's called The Way We Were, and it's about New Zealand in, I don't know, perhaps the 1950s, 60s, maybe even before then. It actually came from a school where I used to work at. They were having a big throw out and I rescued it from the recycling bin. I just thought it was an interesting book. From 6 o'clock closing to 6 of the best. Oh my goodness. From pies at Taumaranui to the last train at Papanui. The Way We Were is an illustrated book, or an illustrated look at everyday life in New Zealand in the 3 decades from the end of World War II to the opening of the second television channel. I remember that. This collection of more than 250 photographs looks at the little events that shaped our lives and gave us the memories of New Zealand we have today. And this was in association with TVNZ, Communicado and New Zealand On Air, The Way We Were. Sheep farming is a major industry in New Zealand. The wool, the lamb. In fact, I believe we're outnumbered by sheep. That short back and sides haircut. I can relate to this book because I think in a way I'm a baby boomer on the cusp. I'm the youngest in my family. So I was born in the 60s. Looks like a lovely beach day out at the beach. It's possibly a regatta. There's Paul Holmes, the late Paul Holmes. He was a television presenter, much loved, but he's no longer with us. Now I like this. There's probably 45, 50 people in here. I wonder what they're all looking at. They look very enthralled. Some people are eating. I'm not sure if she's eating. She's almost in shock. And he thinks it's hilarious. Let's see who's looking at the camera. She is. He is. He is. He is. Father and son, maybe? And she's looking at the camera. What a pretty smile. I think she's eating an apple. She's looking at the camera. I wonder what became became of all these people. Many of them have probably since passed away. South Africa. It's a rugby match. It's got to be rugby. School kids checking out who their new teacher will be for the year 1971. I'm about the same age as these kids. They look like they were at intermediate school, and yes, I want them in, oh my goodness, a very old schoolhouse. Now that is definitely before my time. And still before my time. This is 1949. These children don't have a school uniform. Oh, I don't know if you can see his face. This little boy was a bit fidgety. He's a bit blurred, and he's looking straight at the camera. He doesn't look very happy. This way, he was moving around too. I imagine they were all told to sit very quietly with their arms folded and to keep very, very still. Someone wasn't listening to instructions. She's not got her arms folded. Such a big crowd of people. Gym slips. I wore a gym slip. It was a hand-me-down from my sister. Houses are more intense now. Of space there. The school I went to was very old, well, by New Zealand standards. My school was established in 1870. I remember as a young child being at the school centennial while I was a pupil. The dreaded murder house. And these are dental nurses in training. Oh, I still remember those blower and squirter things, red and black. Oh, the horror. And the dental nurses wore those hats. Our dental nurse was called Miss Forsyth. And yes, she wore a hat like that. She looked like the Flying Nun. Oh, this says, Misery Loves Company. Dental nurses in training in 1966 practice on willing young volunteers. I don't know how willing they were, or how many were dragged along by the ear. Milk in schools. Children used to get bottles of milk every day in school, and it would usually be left out in the sun and get a little bit funky, not taste so great. And that was phased out shortly before I started school, but it has since come back, and we now have cartons of milk, little wee cartons of UHT milk. And the fun thing about working in a primary school now is I get to have some. So I have not missed out on the milk in schools. Police officers visit. Don't see these anymore. The blackboard. Practicing road safety. was the same thing we had in our school, per Augusta ad Augusta. I have no idea what it means. If anyone speaks Latin, perhaps you could enlighten me. Home science class, 1954. Girls did the cooking, the boys did the woodwork and the metalwork. Then the boys used to try and catch up with the girls after cooking class and take part in what they had made. Never quite worked the other way round. And these girls are wearing the dreaded rompers, and I remember the rompers. I had them at primary school, they were green, and I had blue ones at intermediate school. Intermediate school here is between primary and high school, so that's around 11 and 12 for 2 years. It's a sort of transition. Not all schools have it. Blowing bubbles. Water play. They must be sisters. Matching dress, and they've got the fly trap. Do you remember those? At first I thought she was smoking. It's alright, she's blowing bubbles. Playground. Hula hoops. Yep. 1958. That girl's multitasking. She's got the hula hoop and she's got something in her hands. Wow, clever girl. She's swinging it on her arm. Another one on the arm. A few of them moving. Houses after the war. My father was a soldier and he fought in World War II. He was in the British Army at the time. He was a Welshman and he spent about 3 years in a Japanese prisoner of war camp. Not pleasant. 1948. In 1948, the Herald described this Auckland property as a house of the type which mean home to many city-dwelling Māori families. In 1945, 75% of the Māori population still lived in the country. 30 years later, 75% lived in the cities. Wow, it looks very basic, doesn't it? And then the houses started to get built. And people would come and view them. 1957, Wellingtonians queue up to inspect houses in a new subdivision. Every one of them has got dressed up to do so. There's not a t-shirt or a pair of jeans in sight. Very true. Very nice. Beautiful house. Woman busy at work. She brought her baby along. Oh, they're making prams. Okay, there's no baby. They're making prams because there was a bit of a population rise with men coming home to their wives. This must be Plunkett. Surely it must be Plunkett. Yes. That is a health service to young mums and babies. Young mums, any mums and young babies. And it follows babies from birth right through to school age. Very, very helpful. Here's Dad sitting down to dinner. Mum's getting the food on the table. And the table, it says, "What is wrong with this 1965 picture of a typical family? They haven't got a Formica table." Or an expanding table. That's a good one. Nice kitchen. The mangle. We still have one of those at the camping ground where we go for our holidays. I wonder if they're mother and daughter. Hand knitted jersey. Yes, you go girl, you mow those lawns. I've used a push mower. I used to have a push mower. Health and safety, nightmare. She'll chop her toes off. Well, we've got a happy family here. We've moved away from the typical nuclear family of mum, dad and the kids. In the space of just a few years, we had people leading more unique lifestyles. It looks kind of nice though. They're having a little jam session. We have 2 guitars and a flute. Oh, 3 guitars. He's wearing his gumboots. She's got bare feet. Woman's lip. This is a lighthouse keeper. His name was Alva Pope, and this is his family having dinner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 children, 5 girls and a boy. Tiny little dining area. They just fit. Value for money. Oh, it must be shopping. What have we got here? Tide detergent. Oh, Hudson biscuits. Bickies biscuits. Cookies. We call them biscuits. I think what Americans call biscuits, we call scones. We have probably more of a British style of language. Oh, the old money. Because 1967, the 10th of July, was when we moved to decimal currency. I do vaguely remember using a florin, which was the equivalent to 20 cents, and a sixpence, and a shilling, and we were still allowed to use them after that time. Typewriters, you don't see those much. I recognise a hole punch. Wow, banking back in the day. Wow, actual people. No hole in the machine then. Oh my goodness, a self-service market with a shopping trolley. I wonder if it went sideways. Our supermarket. I remember the floors looking like this. Made with tiles. And I remember having our food weighed on scales like this. Oh, and those. In fact, I used to work at the post office and we used similar scales where we had weights that we would put on to balance. Oh, it's busy, busy, busy. Look at those prices. And look how smart everyone looks. Queen Anne chocolates. Now that's my shop. Yes, please, I'll just go in there. Milk chocolate with raisins. 6 ounces for 2 and 6. Okay, so it's a slab of chocolate with raisins in it. So technically that's kind of healthy. Hat shop. Oh, there they are making the hats. That would be quite a skill. Science. Oh, they must be washing machines. The agitator washing machines. We had one of those with the wringer, the mangle. Science was beginning to fill our new homes with labour-saving technology, even if it was clunky and still pretty expensive. 30 years ago, it took 8 weeks' wages to buy a new agitator washing machine, compared with about 2 weeks' wages now. And now you get something a bit better than an agitator machine. Oh, I remember that. Yes, I remember appliances were a huge amount. The microwave ovens came out, when? Was it late 70s? And my mother really wanted one. And so when I got a job, I actually lay-byed a microwave oven for her birthday. And I was earning around $50, maybe $60 a week. Oh, I hear a siren. I live in a rough neighbourhood. And yes, I can remember that microwave oven cost me $995.99. And it took me months to pay for it. But it was certainly worth it when I presented it to my mother for her birthday. She was delighted. Nowadays you can pick up a microwave oven for like a lot less than a week's wages. Oh, records. Oh, what a classic tattoo. It's got a swallow and a heart, and it says Mum. Bless his heart. She's riding a bicycle with no helmet. Car yards, Zephyr. I like the flowers and the plants. Walkie-talkie sets. Man, they're massive. The days before the mobile phone. Oh, look at the little caps on their heads. Aren't they sweet? The end of an era, the first night of 10 o'clock closing in Auckland's Vulcan Lane. 10 o'clock at night. Late night shopping. Goodness me. That's Phil Gifford. He's a radio personality. So he's sharing his memories about the 21st birthday party. Shall we read it? Why not? The 21st birthday party was, and still is, a ritual stemming from medieval times when a knight was old enough and strong enough to stagger about in a full suit of armour and carry a lance. In New Zealand, of course, you merely needed to stagger about with several jugs in your hand. Jugs meaning, a pint of beer. As Phil Gifford recalls, one of the biggest moments in your life then was the 21st birthday party, and it took 2 very distinct forms. One was the family 21st birthday party, which involved usually a hall being hired, occasionally a home, but usually a hall and a large number of people, most of whom you hadn't invited. They were your parents' friends because your parents had been invited to their kids' 21sts, and that always involved an incredibly tedious speech by an old person, always an old man who you didn't really know, who talked about your parents, not you. Then there was your own 21st. Usually young men had these, and that involved an incredible amount of drinking. In fact, the only photograph I have from my 21st was taken the next day with the whole floor carefully stacked up with dozens and dozens of beer bottles. Wow. I think my 21st birthday was, let me see. I think I had a friend round for dinner. So there were just the three of us. Mum, me and my friend. Oh, what a lot of people. Matching hats here. They look like cadets. I wonder what they're watching. Oh, it's rugby. It's about the rugby, isn't it? Oh, car racing. These ladies look very excited. They're all dressed up for the event. She looks a little more serious. I think she was dragged along. When beer was sold as a bulk commodity, practical Kiwis developed the high-pressure industrial hose so that the jug after jug could be filled continuously. Now that beer in some bars is simply an alternative to Cabernet, the hoses have all but disappeared. They weren't very happy. All men. Stopping by for a pint after work. The ladies at leisure, playing tennis. Netball in a gym slip. This netball's kind of big here. Sailing, also very big here. Camping, oh, I have fond memories. We used to go to a campground. My mother was in the St. John's, and my mother and I and her friend and their family, we would stay in the St. John's hut while everybody else had to rough it in caravans and tents. There were many cases of sunburn in the St. John's clinic. The boats lined up. We love our boats. We love our water. Pete Sinclair. He used to be on TV. He hosted music shows like Come On and Happenin'. Ray Columbus. The Morrisons, the Howard Morrison. He's gone now. Sir Howard Morrison. Ray Columbus and the Invaders. He also passed away, I think, was it last year or the year before? He sang She's a Mod. Very cool. Oh, Dame Kiri Takanoa and Dinah Lee. Oh, the Chicks. They were sisters, I think. Suzanne and Judy. Yeah, Suzanne and Judy. Yes, I remember Suzanne actually went solo. Max Cryer and Crunchy the Clown. I saw Crunchy the Clown perform live. He used to do live shows. John Rolls. You'll have to Google these singers. Lee, something Lee. Was it Mr. Mr. Lee Grant, that's it. The girls loved him. The dance. That was before my time. We had the school disco, maybe. Eating out. The Queen. I remember she came to New Zealand. Ooh, was it the very early 70s? And she drove past the street that our school was in, and so we all lined up along the road with flags, and we waved flags as this black car drove past. We didn't see anybody. And this must have been around that time. And she was in Dunedin. She was very pretty. And Prince Philip, very handsome man. Not been doing so well lately, I think. The beach. The surf's up. Farming. Country life. I didn't grow up in the country. I'm more of an urban girl. Is that crop dusting, perhaps? I do hope it isn't, what was it? DDT? I can't remember. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? You know, it's in that song. Oh, before we were worried about skin cancer. And seriously, guys, down here in the southern hemisphere, we have to worry about skin cancer. We are a lot closer to that dreaded hole in the ozone layer. And sunburn is a very real thing, and skin cancer has claimed more lives than it should. So these are men hard at work. Okay, tobacco. Rosalie Eggers on her father's tobacco farm at Motueka, 1967. I did not know that. Grapes. Okay, this looks like timber. That looks like hard physical work. Look at their hands. Wow. That's in the late 40s. Man, he's not young. It looks like they worked very hard. An agricultural show. Not exactly sure what they're looking at. Oh, there's a horse. And so it's show jumping at that point. Oh, the pylon's going up. I'm going a little quickly. Wanganui. Okay, I've not been to Wanganui. I think at some point it was decided to change the name to Whanganui and add an H. Victoria Street in Hamilton. All those bicycles, no bicycle helmets, which are now compulsory. Oh, dear, this is bittersweet. This is Christchurch, Cathedral Square, and I have been there before the big earthquake that took some lives and destroyed the city. My daughter was actually living there at the time, so it was very worrying. She now lives in Australia. Yeah, it was sad. I went with a group from church to help out a week later, or a couple of weeks later, and we did a school holiday program in the mornings, and then we went round doing a little bit of relief work. It involved a lot of digging, silt, nasty, nasty silt, very heavy, and there was a lot of it. Oh, I used to work there. That's the farmer's car park, which was attached to a big department store that I used to work in. Many harbours. Auckland Harbour, that's Waitemata Harbour, I think. I don't know, I'm looking for something familiar. Oh, it's before the bridge was born, that's why before the bridge was built, the Harbour Bridge, that's why it looks a little bit different. The Harbour Bridge, and that was in the early days. We since had the extra lanes added to the side. It became known as the Nippon Clip-On, which was very racist really, because it actually came from Japan, but it was the 1960s. People didn't know any better. We used to have a toll gate which would slow the traffic down. Oh my goodness, is that a bicycle? Oh, it would be a motorbike. It's motorised. Yes, the bridge was built a couple of years before I was born. Miners. Postal workers. I've also worked in a post office. I've been a postal worker, a sales assistant, a hairdresser, a cleaner. Now this is a beautiful place, Queenstown. It is very serene and beautiful. A steam train, I don't see many of those. Flying boats. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? It's like an aeroplane, and it has like skis, and it would take off from the water. Big fancy. This isn't far from where I live, the Bombay Hills. Yeah. We now have a very busy motorway along here. It's all quite different. Traffic officers, 1955. Wow. No helmets. Oh, they must be stewardesses. 1946. Oh, they have names. This is Betty Morton, Val Beckett, Laura Magnus, Judy Everett, Joy Patterson, and Pat Willey. There's a flying boat. That looks so high. A passenger express chugs across the Makatote Viaduct in the Central North Island in 1961. Oh, New Zealand Rail Cups. We can't get those anymore. They were manufactured by a company called Crown Lynn Pottery, and Crown Lynn was good quality stuff, and I remember going on a school trip to the factory and they closed down, and now Crown Lynn Pottery is very collectible, I believe. Brighton, that's around Christchurch. Diesel buses that replace the tram service, and so a crowd comes because it's new. There's the trams. They still have trams in Wellington, I think. I've been on a tram in Wellington. Whenuapai, that's where the Air Force is. Wow, an Auckland vehicular ferry crosses the harbour from Devonport in the late 50s. Goodness, we don't have those anymore. Oh, there's my hometown. There's North Head and there's Mount Victoria, and I was born here. I was born somewhere around there. About there. Oh, the wahine, ill-fated wahine. The wahine with a load of new vehicles waiting for transport to the South Island in 1967. The ferry was caught in a ferocious storm while entering Wellington Harbour on 10th of April 1968. 51 people died in the tragedy. You know, I think a week beforehand, I think it was about a week beforehand, my husband had been on that very boat for a school trip. Wow. It's carrying firewood in the late 40s. Oh, hello. We're exercising. Sheilas and blokes. For those of you who don't quite get our lingo, language, Sheilas are women and blokes are men. Sheilas and blokes. Looks very orderly. They're lying down. They're sitting up and smiling, looking very elegant. Wow, very elegant indeed. Entries in the Miss Whangarei contest riding down Cameron Street on a Saturday afternoon in 1964. Miss New Zealand, 1949, Mary Woodward. Wow, 1949. The first Miss New Zealand was crowned in 1927. Look at that beautiful hair. Now that's an artwork. Check out her eyeliner and eyelashes. They don't actually seem to touch her eye. That's fine, that's fine. Sue Callaway, second from left. She was Miss Canterbury. Wins the 1961 Miss New Zealand contest. Elaine Miskell, far right, there she is, Miss Rotorua, could afford to smile. She would win the contest 2 years later. They could all smile actually. 30 years later, more New Zealanders would know the name of a model, Rachel Hunter, than the name of the current All Black captain. This is true. True. true story. There's Sue Callaway when she became Sue Bidwell. That's her there. This is quite an old book actually. When is the copyright for this book? Not exactly sure if I saw that. Not exactly sure when this book was made. Hello, Girls Learning Deportment, the old book on the head. Oh, she's so cute. Look, she's so pleased with her pretty little dress. Oh, preparing for the great moment in a young woman's life, a 60s wedding. There's her bridesmaids. Oh, she looks a little apprehensive. The bridesmaids look a little more excited. Oh, hello, Milk Bar Cowboys. The Milk Bar, I think, later became known as a dairy, which is like a corner shop. But back in the day, I guess before my time, it was like a meeting place. Okay, we didn't really have that in my time. They look a little bit rough and ready, don't they? He's quite a good looking chap, isn't he? Nice big eyes. A 50s school dance where young New Zealanders learn the social graces and the art of eating cocktail sausages with a toothpick. And somebody's got to do all the dishes. They look quite happy to be doing it. It's not going to be the blokes, is it? I just heard my cat. I hope he's not getting into trouble. So, what career choices were there? Nursing. Oh my goodness. Police officer. I can hear my cat. Police officers. They could type. The New Zealand office. The man does the phoning, the woman does the filing. That's got to be rugby. Yes, it's rugby. Look at this. Very fashionable. The frills. Oh, those sleeves. I love them. She has long legs. Oh, is she wearing pantyhose with mules? Okay. Oh, I love the pants. Bell bottoms. Hot pants. And boots. I had a pair of teal hot pants, but I was a child. They were kids. I'm not that old. Just want to make that clear. Is this the same wedding? I have to know. Is this the same bride? We must check this out. Yes. Definitely, yes. It's got to be her. And that's her in her going away outfit. Is it her? I think it is. I feel like it might be. I could be mistaken. I don't know. Yes, because I can see the ribbon and the flowers on the bridesmaids' dresses, and that's the same bridesmaid. Well, So this is who she married, huh? Back in the day we used to get the boxes of confetti. Okay. It's not environmentally friendly now. Well, she does look happy. The nerves are over now. The great day in a woman's life, going away after the wedding and the classic New Zealand wedding reception, including interminable speeches and the reading of the witty telegrams. These days it's probably emails. And here we are at the end. And it was published in 1996. So how long ago was that? My goodness gracious me. Wow. 24 years. Well, thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed looking through it. And so for now, I will say good night, and God bless.